Call to order the Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026 meeting of the Middleton Select Board. It is 5:04 p.m. And a reminder for those that are in the room, this meeting is being recorded. In your package this evening, you have information on warrant number 2616, dated February 5th, as well as facilities project warrant number FP80. Town Administrator, anything you want to walk us through on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Warrant number 2616, dated February 5th, 2026, on the payroll side, totaling in at $951,793. Just wanted to highlight overtime. We're continuing to review internally. We had a conversation with Finance Director Wood, ATA Bresnahan, and myself, in fact, this afternoon, just trying to see what different departments are using to date. Fire's a little bit over, police is a little bit under. In a challenging budget year, we're just trying to right-size that, so we'll continue to monitor. You'll also see about $30,000 for the snow line, which should be self-explanatory if you look out the window. On the bills payable side of things, coming in at about $4.4 million. A couple things worth highlighting there: about $70,000 for landfill monitoring. That's something that's going to continue to increase in the DPW budget line relative to PFAS. So just keep an eye on that. About $40,000 for new radios under the fire department, which was an annual town meeting appropriation. On the capital side of things, IT, the North Shore IT Collaborative, their quarterly assessment at about $28,000. The interim planner, you'll see about $2,200. I believe that's the last time that's going to be rolling through because Anna's back. Welcome back, Anna. And for the treasurer, which is making up a bulk of this bills payable side, the Masco assessment coming in at about $2.9 million, a pretty substantial chunk there. For facilities project warrant FP80, it's about $1.2 million, and that's almost entirely straight construction costs with a very small amount, about $1,600 in miscellaneous other costs.
Okay. Any questions on warrant 2616 of facilities project 80?
I have just one. The Eagle monitoring, once we move in and open, does that go away or is that forever?
That does go away. There are elements pertaining to the Eagle that we do have to continue to mind over time, but that piece is exclusively for the period of construction.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we have one more season tops where we will do the full monitoring, and then we go into basically operations and maintenance.
Thanks.
The Eagle permit.
Not to be silly, but we're talking number of nests, not number. I know we refer to it as the Eagle, but there's more than probably one Eagle in that, so we're just talking.
We're talking about general Eagle monitoring on the site.
Thank you.
Okay.
Move to accept as presented for warrant 2616 and facilities project 80.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There is a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, if any? That passes unanimously. In your package, you have minutes from the January 20th, 2026 open session. I don't know if there are any questions or comments.
No, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of January 20, 2026 open session.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, if any? Okay, that passes unanimously. Justin, Town Administrator, update and report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A few items around town. Budget Saturday is scheduled for this upcoming Saturday, February 7th. At this point in time, we're looking at about an $800,000 deficit. That's a pretty big gap. Our team is working to shrink that. Obviously, it's early in the year, and we're fully recognizing that it's early in the process. Not unusual for us to be looking at a deficit at this point in time. A little unusual for it to be that size. Some of that's reflective of some outside factors that a lot of municipalities have been looking at. Fiscal storm, the MMA referred to it in the fall. So we continue to look at that, remain committed to doing our best to tighten our belt and make that work. So tune in for February 7th, and we'll dig into the get into the weeds on that. We had a good tour of our new building with members of the COA a couple weeks ago. They're eager to get into the new space, measuring out some areas and think a good opportunity for them to better understand functionally how the space will work. That should help ease their transition as they move in and try to keep program running. I've been working with Peter Coleman, our new facilities director, who is here today, to put together a scope of work for cleaning services for the new buildings. We've been digging through a backlog of some procurement items, so Peter has been very eager to go and extraordinarily patient, so thank you. And I expect that to be out sometime in the next week or so. Peter's doing a great job with that. The ZBA met on Thursday, the 22nd, to open the hearing for the proposed residential development at 35 Village Road. That was a very well-attended meeting, and thank you to the residents that came out with some excellent questions. Kudos to the developer for those that watched, who are going, it seems, really going out of their way to be attentive to the neighbors and communicative throughout the process from the last time they met in the fall. So hopefully they continue with that tenor. It's certainly appreciated. Villbridge Middleton, speaking of developments, appears to be moving forward, and what we're hearing is they expect for permits to be pulled for the residential piece sometime in March. So that's marching forward. Kudos to the DPW for all their efforts last week with the storm there. Probably one of the biggest snow-based weather events that we've seen in the past few years. A lot of it has been, in recent memory, freeze, thaw, black ice, ice storm, but we haven't had like a real good dumping like that in snow in some time, and they did a really good job with the team they have. As Mr. Goodwin often reminds us, a lot of the team is green, although they're gaining more and more experience with each passing storm, and I think this was a good test, and they passed it, so great job to them. And also, as always, in full recognition, when most of us are at home with our families, they're out in the truck. So I appreciate that as well. It's a tough line of work. So thank you. As you may have read in the news, the Attorney General is moving forward with a lawsuit against 9 communities who are not in compliance with MBTA zoning. Middleton is among them. We maintain our position that Middleton should be exempt, as we are not a truly adjacent community by any definition that a normal, reasonable person would use. So we'll continue to monitor that. The board is going to be discussing it later this evening in executive session, and we'll communicate to the public when we're able in terms of next steps, if any. We're nearly complete with the collective bargaining process with nearly all units over the goal line at this point in time. We're hopeful that we can come to an agreement with the final fully outstanding unit. There's one that we have a soft agreement with, but they still need to bring it back to the group, one that's a little further out there. So if we don't lock that up soon, unfortunately, we're going to have to push that back to a fall special to fund it, and it'll be retroed. So we're really trying to get that done, but we appreciate the partnership either way. And lastly, I hosted a site visit today for moving companies that are looking to secure the award for the Middleton Municipal Complex move. We had 7 interested parties today, which is a really strong turnout. There's actually one that couldn't make it today, so Peter took them around yesterday, so eight total. So we'll see how that goes. Got some really good feedback from them, and it's a pretty complex move considering the amount of buildings that we have to coordinate. So moving along there, and that's everything for now.
Okay, any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Sure.
You mentioned that MBTA lawsuit against the town. I don't understand what they were asking. So the town held the town meetings, the planning board and select board, the majority of them supported it. I didn't, but the majority did, so the town board supported it. We brought the voters in, they had a vote, they voted no. So there's only 2 things they're either asking us to take the constitutional right of the people of Middleton's vote away from them and force them at an open town meeting, which is one of the oldest forms of government, to vote a certain way, or they, like the legislature wrote the law in a way that it goes, it's a zoning thing. They could have done it like they did the ADUs, they didn't. There's a process. They can't upsert the process, so I don't understand what they're asking of us, and I think the offense is a constitutional one. That's just, I'm not speaking for anybody else in this room but myself.
Yeah, I think that's all good points. I mean, I've read the lawsuit. I've surely read her wonderfully timed op-ed that was released minutes on the Boston Globe website, minutes after the lawsuit was filed, explaining how pained she is by suing cities and towns in Massachusetts. I wish she spent some of that time, I don't know, enforcing a ballot question that passed with almost 80% of the vote to actually force an audit of one of the branches of government, but that's a whole nother story for another time. But given that, I think you're right, Jeff. I think this is the beginning of the salvo of this administration, and this Attorney General is looking to usurp the authority that has historically been given to cities and towns around zoning. Now, I will clearly state, and we said this during the process, that there is some items in zoning where cities and towns don't have control over, and the courts have ruled on that in the past, and that's specifically around the Dover Amendment, which states that cities and towns cannot not allow houses of worship within certain areas in town. And that is at least case law where the state has exerted control over the cities and towns on zoning. I am assuming that's where this Attorney General and this Governor are hanging their hat right now. I think time will tell. We're not the only town, and there may be additional towns, because there are still a handful of towns that are still in partial compliance awaiting potential activity within their cities or their town, upcoming town meetings. So the list of 12 Regional has chosen to actually sue may increase. I would expect it's probably not going to decrease in the giving weeks and months. But I think this is the first salvo from this administration and this Attorney General, other than their decision to take away grants and other funding from cities and towns. So I think there'll be a lot more discussions by this board in consultation with our attorney in executive session, but I think we'll find the opportunities to, where appropriate, inform the townspeople of where this is headed. And I'm sure there'll be more written about this in the coming days and weeks. But your point's not lost on me, Jeff, at all. This is, to say unprecedented, and quite honestly, to your point on the ADUs, this is where the legislature could actually stand up and actually earn their money and be heard on this. If the legislature's intent was cities and towns had no say over this, then that's what they should have done. Right. And if that's still their intent, they should stand up and do that. So,
Certainly dripping with irony as regards to what laws they want to enforce and what ones they ignore.
I mean, I am a big believer in initiative petition and citizens petitions, and when 80% of the voters vote for something, but the Attorney General chooses to ignore it, but this is the one that she hangs her hat on.
And unfortunately, there's people on that bandwagon. We received a letter from some organization, and signed by a lawyer that was demanded that the Select Board adopt the MBTA zoning, who shows no recognition of what a town can and cannot do through its Select Board.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a case of this board makes a decision. I mean, we have town bylaws we have to operate under. We have town meeting process. We're not a city where the city council or the zoning agency makes a decision in consultation with the mayor. I mean, we have a legislative body, and the legislative body is town meeting, and it spoke once and then spoke a second time in opposition. I mean, the reality is the location and as designed couldn't go back to the board, couldn't go back to town meeting now, even if this board wanted it to go back to town meeting. And the Attorney General and her staff and her attorneys understand that. We've clearly described that to us. We do not even have it in our authority, this board, to have it, if we wanted to, unanimously or majority, bring this back to town meeting or request this to go back. The planning board doesn't even have the authority to bring this back to town meeting based on our bylaws and our rules. So I guess again, the legislature and the administration should stand up and be heard on this rather than coming in with a stick and hitting us all on the side of the head. But this is the same administration that wanted to take away equipment to our firefighters for life and safety as a punishment over this item. And only when the outroar rose up over that did the governor and her administration decide, well, maybe that was a little heavy-handed. Obviously, the Attorney General doesn't seem to care about that.
And the timing, I don't think the stink was gone out of the air of the wildfires we had at that time, too.
Well, that-
Again, points to, I don't know, some disconnect.
But, I mean, bigger fights have occurred in this country over our history over government overreach, so. More to come on that. So, okay, thanks, Jeff. Okay, Middleton Municipal Complex update. I know we have change order 14, as well as PCA 360 contract extension.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to take them one at a time, relative to change order 14, there's 20 items included in your packet, a majority of which actually, if you look, end up costing zero because they're being pulled out of contingencies. So let me rephrase that, costing zero in terms of new money added to the contract. What they're recommending.
It's like free cash.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the money comes from somewhere. So what they're recommending, though, total net would be about $203,429 over the course of those 20 change orders. We're still significantly under budget, and reading through the change orders, we're not adding hot tubs to the chief's suites or anything. It's they're all common sense things that you find at this point in the project that we have to do to get them over the goal line. So that comes fully recommended. And then in addition, PCA 360 contract extension, which covers about 3.5 additional months. And I appreciate PCA 360's effort. It's included in your packet as well to provide a narrative explaining, basically when they took on this job, it was on the assumption that it was going to be a 21.5-month duration. Obviously, with some of the delays in getting the second tranche of funding, that kind of pushed things out a bit early on. So we're still on budget, it's just 3.5 months more, or excuse me, on schedule, it's just 3.5 months more than what PCA had originally imagined this project to be when they first signed on, I think before I was even in town. So we're fully in agreement with this as well. We'll keep them on site through the remainder of the construction phase, and then to a lesser degree, for a slightly lesser cost, coming around in the spring for the additional site work and like final things that need to be buttoned up there as well. So that comes out to $201,705, and we fully endorse that as well.
So, for the public, so we're opening on time. This extra time is just to give them the right to finish up some site work in the spring. I mean, they've been phenomenal about timelines.
Oh, yeah.
We projected a date to open many months ago, and we're gonna open that date. So this is just, so they have permission to finish up some minor site work, but their timing and timelines, it's unbelievable. When we saw the charts on the screen, every time they came, and they were a day off here, a day, it's phenomenal.
They're
how
locked
they
in.
kept to the
Yeah.
timeline.
Yeah, they're real pros.
We're opening exactly the date we
To the day.
projected many months ago.
I'd also say the timeline is surely part of that. The other piece of, and I say this all the time when Brian comes in from PCA 360, I think that in the end, the dollars that they have saved the town of Middleton has been pretty significant in the way that they've helped manage this, but also advocate on our behalf as the owner's representative here, and has made a huge difference. And, I know there was, early on in this process, when we were asking voters to approve this, I remember folks were asking me, like, what does this mean, an owner's representative, and how does this work? Like, don't you just work directly, but with the architects and the builders? But this is a perfect example of dollars well spent, and the work they've done has come back to us threefold.
Okay, so I'll move to approve change order 14 for $203,429, and a PCA 360 contract extension for $201,705.
I'll second that.
Okay, there is a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, if any? And that passes unanimously. Okay, next on the agenda is, well, actually not so new anymore, but our new Facilities Director, Peter Coleman, who's here to give a little bit of an update, what's going on. So come on up.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Same as here.
For this opportunity. I will keep this, pardon me, I'll keep this brief, and please ask any questions or interrupt as you like. Presently, my time is distributed quite equally between DPW or legacy buildings and at the new complex. And it's quite an even balance, and it results in about 50 to 55 hours a week. And I think we're tracking very well on time management. We have just nearly finished building the work request ticket system, which will go into beta testing next week with some stakeholders in the town, department heads, just to work out any bugs, kinks, make sure it's intuitive and effective. It's not a big clunky thing, just for a way for people to cascade information to me and concerns, et cetera. It would include components like building commissioner concerns, as small as a threshold over a half-inch. Please take care of that, to life safety, NFPA compliance, and soup to nuts, really, right down to staying on the carpet sort of thing. So that goes into beta testing next week. I'd hope to have that deployed maybe the week of. We'll work it with the town administration office, but when we deploy that for department heads. I attend roughly between 5 and 10 meetings a week at the new municipal complex. Work closely with PC 360. They are really wonderful. I hear you folks. Speaking of them, I would share your same opinion of Brian and Alex and the team. Additionally, I spend quite a bit of time with WT Rich as I work through the building performance resource. That is quite an extensive resource as part of the contract, which is a great way for subs of WT Rich to provide, in many cases, recorded, but this massive download of knowledge for the town, for the most part through me, so that in a year when they are really not very connected to the project, we'll hold on to that repository of information. So that's quite a significant advantage for the town and for me personally, because it means we get to leverage some warranty options, as well as hold on important information for the town. Moving on, let's see. We have finalized and prepared the O&M budget for the new complex for FY27. And some of you, if not all, will hear more about that on Saturday. I've been working consistently with basic risk management, sort of mitigation hands-on, going into buildings when temps are extremely low, usually when they're unoccupied on weekends, et cetera, just to make sure we're not having a crisis regarding building envelope. We've been stable through these record low temps, which is great. Along with that, I have been working on identifying some key performance indicators that I can share with our risk managers, both internal and external, so we can leverage that for some fiscal benefit if we are able to meet enough of the key performance indicators, and hopefully prevent losses, of course. Additionally, I've been combing through our NFPA status for all of our legacy buildings, and I think that stakeholders for the buildings heretofore have done a really good job. I don't believe it had prior been consolidated into one location, but I'm trying to comb through, looking for gaps, trying to close those gaps regarding fire and life safety, and it's really quite an amazing result. It's a tiniest bit of catch-up to do, but that is finally now consolidated, and we're working on perhaps identifying one or two vendors who can provide overwatch as we do, testing in our NFPA reports, et cetera. See if I have anything else I can share with you here. Gosh, that is really it. There's a lot of other granular stuff going on, hands-on work, et cetera, on a daily basis, from plowing and shoveling to unclogging toilets, and you name it, whatever you can think of. I'm out there doing it, and happy to do it, as well as some of the higher level stuff as well. Trying to mobilize some initial quotes to provide guidance and a baseline as we look to capital budgets and what the future may or may not look like for legacy buildings.
So a question for you. Obviously, you're spending you said about 50% of your time now engaged in some of the legacy buildings, some that we will be in some way, shape, or form mothballing in the future. For the legacy buildings that we are not going to be exiting, which will be the DPW facility and the library facility, which you've been here how long now?
2 months.
Okay, so in your, let's call it 60-plus days that you've been here, what's your feeling on those two buildings?
I think they're great assets to the town. DPW 95 is much more simple of a facility. Doesn't have the historical, the legacy and the value as compared to the library. I think that operating costs and capital expenditures moving forward were quite reasonable for DPW. The library is, it's a fantastic place. In fact, I spoke to Chelsea Clock down in Chelsea regarding next steps to restore the E. Howard and Company clock in the library, et cetera. Just trying to get some ideas and numbers. That building is at a tipping point, perhaps, where it would, a modest investment now could save a significant amount of money in the future. When I say now, it could be 6 to 18 months. And I've been working a bit with town administrator about that. We're still kind of putting plans together. I'm in the process of kind of fine-tuning and polishing a CapEx budget for the library. There's quite a lot of moving pieces and important, complex equipment that probably needs to be scheduled for upgrade.
I mean, a lot of folks may not realize, but when you think about it, the building's approaching 20-plus years.
20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. So, the one thing that in a lot of our buildings that have reached a long time ago the end of their life expectancy, which is why we're moving to our new facility, there were some investments that were made, but a lot that were deferred. And I think as a town, we've made the right-sided decision of making sure the investments we've made already, like this building, the Howe Manning School, and the Flint Library, the investments that we've made there in those three buildings, we need to continue to maintain and
I would
and
agree
update.
with that personally.
Good.
Were you involved at all with the school buildings, or those are kept separate?
I'm not involved. I will plow if Superintendent Goodwin needs an extra hand. He'll send me over. In fact, I was plowing here beginning of last week. Happy to do that. Otherwise, I don't have skin in the game regarding the schools, which is probably for the best because there's quite a bit going on.
Sure,
But I'm
of
happy to
course, yeah.
support if the need comes up.
And the schools have a facility
Facility director, yeah, they do.
If I could, how are we, secured in ADA when it comes to that? Is that simply in the building codes themselves and what the law dictates now? And if so, how is that, how do you get to know what was left undone there?
Oh, right. In our legacy buildings.
And the new
In
building?
the buildings, I think that the building commissioner is doing a fantastic job of really looking at every detail, right down to the 16th of an inch in as far as I know, in every conceivable way, and he's really appropriately holding the project's feet to the fire so that you have a fully compliant facility when it's opened.
Thank you.
Anything else, Peter? Well, Peter, glad to have you here. We're glad to have you on board. You were a great find for the town. The timing couldn't have been better. And you know, I think once we get to the other side of these facilities opening and then start to move methodically to what's happening with the legacy buildings that we will be exiting, mothballing, and at some point disposition, looking forward to hearing more from you and some of your advice and recommendations on those as well.
Great, thank you, it'd be my pleasure.
Good. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, Saturday is going to be our first deep dive into the budget. We have, over the last couple of meetings, been taking some of the smaller department budgets and bringing them to this board, and I thank the town administrator for actually doing this process, because I think some of these budgets are important to have their time in the sun, so to speak, but also, I know many of these budgets will be discussed with the Finance Committee separately. So I know two of them, Select Board, Town Administration, and Town Council, we deferred from last meeting because it was a packed agenda. But we have with us this evening our star Board of Health Director, who's going to talk to us a little bit about her budget to date and some of your expectations for FY '27 for the Board of Health. How are you?
You guys.
Doing great.
Thanks for having me. So, just gonna put them up for you. We can just start while she puts them up. So, I did have a meeting with Sarah and Jackie earlier, and as you know, we did the zero budget. We decreased the consultant line item from 7,300 to 4,000 because we have the PHE grant, which helps us with our inspectional, but it's a tri-town, as you know. The Public Health Excellence Grant is for the tri-town.
Is
but it
this
helps with our
most of the
inspection.
inspections that are done at like restaurants,
Restaurants, housing,
group homes?
group homes, if need be. Also nuisances, noise, odor.
Okay.
We work collaboratively on that.
And historically,
Yes.
the consultant we used was somebody from another town, correct?
Yes, we used the Danvers Health Director. And then prior to that, we used Mark Harleo, who ended up going to the state.
Okay.
And now with the Public Health Excellence Grant, we can, we have our own, or we share one.
Okay.
It really works in our benefit. We increased the travel. Our car, or my car is, not mine, but the town's car, is getting older, so it has some maintenance that will be needed. And then, as we move over to animal control,
Just one more thing.
Oh, yeah, go
I
ahead.
assume in this budget, similar to what we talked about last week, some of the items that are now being consolidated into more of the general budget, like around copying, postage, et cetera. Is that same consolidation happening here?
yes, it is.
Okay.
We did go up in our advertising because we've had hearings, and advertising in the paper is costly. So we bumped that up. So if we have any new regulations, we,
Do the applicants,
only if they appeal the Board of Health's decision will they pay for the fee. But
So
prior to that,
if
we
somebody
make-
is coming before the Board of Health for a hearing on whatever, that has to be posted, is there a way for that advertising fee to be borne by the entity that's coming before the
Yes, in the
board?
regulations, there
Is that a state
stipulated.
regulation or a town regulation?
Yep, it's a
And
town.
what is our, how much is it a year for advertising?
It's not per year, it's per ad, like.
No, but I mean, like,
oh.
on average, what do we
On
spend a
average,
year?
this year was higher than normal.
Okay,
So it's usually between $600 to $700.
okay.
Hopefully it won't.
That we have to post in a newspaper that nobody in this town gets. Exactly.
But it's
okay.
it's mandated.
Yeah, I know.
Until they make something different. Yeah. We talked about that at MAHB too. Anything else on the Board of Health?
No, no.
Okay. Animal control, as you know, we use a couple that work collectively together
Yes.
in many towns. But, you know, apparently we haven't changed it. I thought we did change that, but I didn't see changes on the
What
Clear
are you
gov.
asking? I'm sorry.
The animal control,
About consolidating it?
or even decreasing it because of the use or not use. We didn't.
I thought Sarah had made that change,
I
so
thought she
I'll
did,
follow
but I
up
didn't see
tomorrow
that.
morning.
So, they don't require a lot, and we put it out to them. But they do, if they send in an animal for testing for rabies, we have to pay for that. We absorb the cost. But if, like, a homeowner sends something in, we don't absorb the cost for that. Although they might try, but we don't. So the animal control officer has to bring it to the veterinarian to be tested, and we will pay for that. They have not asked us to board any animals, like, they don't have a fee, as far as I know, so they're very self-accommodating.
Okay. So what you're telling me is it's working very well?
Excellent, yes.
And you have animal boarding, you have a line item for that, right?
We do. So in the event they can't board an animal, then they will find a place for it. But in the 3 years I've been here, 3.5 years, they've never asked for that.
And how much are you asking, that line item for this coming year for boarding?
1,500?
Yes,
1,500?
yes.
When was the last time Middleton had to board an animal?
Again, in my 3 years, I have not seen one. I could go back and look it up for you if you'd like.
You've been here 3 years already?
3.5,
That happened fast.
didn't it?
Yeah.
We last spent money in that line in fiscal '25. We had actuals.
I did?
Yeah,
In-
$393.
For boarding?
Yeah.
Well, then I'm
You
mistaken.
think we should lower that, maybe to 500, and it sounds like we spent 393 2 years ago, we don't, that one could probably be lowered, right?
Absolutely. To 500?
Yeah, I would say we should entertain,
Yeah.
and, but what I would also state, and I appreciate the husband and wife team that is managing the animal control efforts and a lot of the boarding that they do on their own. I would also state that if we do decide to reduce that, should boarding expenses come up, we need to make sure that we have an avenue.
To pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, as long as they stay and they help out. I mean, they do what they do.
Okay.
So Jeff, you'd like us to change it down to
500, I
500?
think, yeah.
With the stipulation, if we needed it, we could increase
If
it.
that's the case now, if it went over 1,500, you'd be in the same,
Exactly.
oh, yeah.
You're exactly right. Yep. Okay.
Hopefully, this isn't like when we talk about snow and then it snows
Yeah.
out. so. And then similar to your budget, any of the office supplies and others will be consolidated into the bigger budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're certainly collecting animals loose.
Oh, I'm sure they.
Well, I see it all the time on
But
social media.
whether or not
usually
in
at
the
police
past,
station.
they're charging a boarding fee for as long as it takes them to chip read, contact the owner, and they kind of know that that happened in the past, so
Oh, you're
they must be handling it,
on their own.
reasonably well in that
Yes.
regard and not hitting people for the
And they
the
know.
30 minutes that it, that the dog spent in their kennel, as it used to be.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not like that.
I appreciate that.
We do too. And then, what we've done in the past are our goals for the future.
This is your platform.
This is my platform? Thank you. So our accomplishments this year, we have finally hired all of the people we need for our Public Health Excellence Grant. We've made our capacity. That was a huge endeavor. We're just onboarding our last two, which is the Tri-Town nurse and the part-time Tri-Town health inspector. With that being said, we've also hired, this past year, we've had a social worker who's a contracted position, who I just wanted to mention has this Lunch and Learn series online. Once a month, if you got, if you're interested in sitting in mental health, all the way up to, well, pretty much it's been mental health for the initial part, but it's a very worthy 1 hour while you're eating your lunch, if you'd like. You can find that website, the link on our website. And then, what else have we got? Oh, Jessica Carter, our shared service coordinator, who oversees the Public Health Excellence Grant and manages it through the state. She's our liaison through the Department of Public Health and us. I work closely with her to make sure all pieces run smoothly. She is very good at working with the Tri-Town administration and their advisory board, so we are grateful for all of her dedication to our town and our grant. Just wanted to put that out there. It would be nice if, and with the social worker this year, both of them are putting together a health fair for the Tri-Town, and it's going to happen April 11th at Masconomet, because we're not ready for opening or hosting the health fair at this point, maybe next year. So she's putting a lot of her time and effort into the health fair. We have our Tri-Town Health Inspector, Connor Galvin, who is a young man who has more initiative than anybody I've ever met. He's taken every class that's come across the board, and we are very fortunate to have him. So his next endeavor is to take the RH exam, the registered sanitarian exam, which is a very big study. And he is planning on taking it in March. So hopefully, I have all the confidence in the world that he will pass with flying colors. And then, what else is going on? Patty McDonough holds down the fort. She is our Middleton public health nurse with all of the surveillance for public health, any communicable diseases. She takes care of that. She's done flu clinics. She does CPR classes for the food licenses, and which Andy can attest to because he's been to. And then our opioid abatement settlement funds, we're still, as you know, we host our opioid overdose awareness vigil annually in August, and it is well attended by our political representatives, Senator Tarr, Representative Kerins, and Representative Jones, as well as other community people who attend as
How
well.
many more years are cities and towns, and because there's no counties, we're getting the county portion, how many more years of the settlement dollars are we expected to receive?
That is a very good question. So right now, we
I know
are,
there was a first chunk that came in
Yes.
during the Sackler family settlement, but then there's a second chunk coming from other drug companies that settled as well.
for the opioid funds or the
Yeah,
PHE grant?
the opioid funds.
So the opioid funds, we are probably earmarked till another 15 years. But I will double check on that.
Ballpark, what is our annual allocation?
It changes. $8,000, I think, is what we got. Did we have that up on the board?
I don't have that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you were.
I didn't know
Gonna
that
do
we were
that.
gonna talk money on that, but I can get that to you.
Okay.
That information. But it does change annually.
Okay.
But with the opioid funds, we have had our vigil, we have made a donation to the Wenham House, a sober home for gentlemen. We have also, we're working with the fire chief to put, I don't want to call them lock boxes, but access boxes with the AEDs and Narcan at all of the fields.
AED and
And then-
sandboxes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they would be accessed by calling the fire department to get a code to open it. And that way, the fire department can come and address the situation on hand. They won't, I don't want to call them locked boxes, because even though they will be locked, they will be accessible. So that's our next.
So on the sandboxes that have been distributed around town, some of them to some public facilities, some of them have been restaurants and so forth. How has that gone?
For all of the boxes that have been installed, 2 have been returned. One from the hotel,
Yep.
corporate asset. we
Very
returned.
familiar with that.
Okay. And then the other one, a little local breakfast shop that didn't feel that they needed it. But everybody else otherwise has put them up, and we teach that in our CPR class. So
And how are you rotating out
the Narcan,
that's in there?
so we have an intern from MHOA, and he has gone to every single Narcan box. He had put down the date, changed them out if they've expired or close to expiring, and that's how we keep track of them.
Are we swapping them anywhere? Because I know in the past, there's been, some states have worked with local hospitals, because obviously a hospital uses a lot more Narcan than luckily we would. Many times hospitals have taken some that is at risk of expiring and then,
within this.
but then providing Narcan to fulfill what is being replaced.
Okay, that is actually a great idea. I will reach out to Beverly and Salem and find out if they would be interested in something like that. Right now, I just take them and we use them as examples when we teach a CPR class, how to open it, what it looks like. And that I will look into. But we are part of a program where we receive, a grant program where we receive free Narcan.
And we receive at no cost to us.
No cost.
And if that's the case, and I'm not sure, when we deployed all of these, we're probably reaching the point where there's a bunch of expiration that would be happening.
We are.
Maybe, if not, we can just donate to the local hospitals.
Yes.
Okay.
We don't have a lot expiring yet,
Yeah.
2028.
Yeah, they actually extended the expiration dates on many of them. And for the other facility they returned it, at some point they'll be back before this board and they'll have to answer for that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and then nursing. So this year, we were able to give flu and COVID vaccines. We were very fortunate. We provided 95% of our vaccine inventory to the public. And the nurse, our public health nurse, volunteered at Earth Day, Sun Safety Program she presented. And then she also volunteered at Chief Will's Day as we worked with Jackie, handing out food and working the bouncy house. What an event. So as for me, I continue to oversee the Public Health Excellence Grant staff with the Shared Service Coordinator, Jessica Carter. I troubleshoot where needed. I'm the chair of the Region 3A Coalition, the FEP coalition where we receive funds for emergency preparedness. We coordinate, or I coordinate, the opioid abatement roundtable. Every other month, we have a meeting at the library at 11 a.m. Now we changed it. We used to have it in the evening. It was too hard for people to come. So we've moved it to 11 a.m. You are all welcome to come, if you'd like. Our next one is the 13th, which is going to be Friday, at the library at 11 a.m. We also, what else? We did the vigil. I do a lot of the septic in town still. So with that being said, the inspections, the reviews, perk tests, not right now, it's too cold. But believe me, if it didn't snow, I'd be out there. I am working with seasoned engineers who would help with the septic systems along 114 that are in failure. So I'm going to have them do a review on those because
Are there many in failure?
there's two,
Commercial ones?
yes. But I'm working with a seasoned engineer to make sure it's being done correctly. Because it's high wastewater, coffee needs to have a pretreatment. So I'm working with someone with that. Other than that, that's pretty much everything for.
So
Oh, go ahead.
the folks you're working with are helping you to make sure that what the owners of those properties are proposing for upgrades are
Sufficient,
sufficient.
so it doesn't fail in a short period of time.
Are they
Premature
failing
failure.
now?
Yes, but they're pumping regularly,
Okay.
so they are correcting it, and it will be put in as best as it can be.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions on septic? No? Okay. What else are we doing? So we're trying to keep the regulations at a minimum. I've noticed that when we do set regulations, there is there's recourse for the regulations. So this year was, we set 2 new regulations, and we had to work through them with the community. But I think we've come to it has all worked out well, let's just put it that way.
Good.
And I think that's everything about public health that I can tell you, unless you can think of something else?
I don't think so. Anybody else on the board?
Good job.
Mr. Chair, if I could, while Tracy's here, I just want to express my gratitude in recognition of how much, especially hand in hand with the PHE grant, how much public health has grown in the Tri-Town area. And thanks to the work that Tracy has put in, Middleton is very much the flagship for public health in the Tri-Town area. So well done, and thank you for that.
Thank you. It's a work in progress.
I can't believe it's been 3.5 years.
No, me neither. I'm almost ready to retire.
Not yet, not
No,
yet.
not yet. You're absolutely right.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Okay, next in the hot seat is the town administrator with the select board and town administration and town council budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll run through some elements of this, and Jackie, of course, is very well versed as well, so she'll encourage her to jump in from time to time. So this board is obviously very familiar with our budget because our budget and your budget are more or less one and the same. So in staying true to what we're trying to do in a broader sense of the budget this year, we put in some efforts to consolidate and reduce where appropriate in certain areas. We did see some minor increases for the dues, fees, and subscriptions. But beyond that, we don't have a ton moving around for us. So our overall expenditures stay at about 2.5%, which is the guidance we try to give to our department heads. I would scroll, but Jackie ran away. Beyond that, relative to legal counsel, we have been having a conversation back and forth just to be proactive as part of the budget process with Mead, Tellerman, and Costa. They are holding their fees steady for this year, which we're very much appreciative of in a year when it seems like everything else is drastically increasing. Separately, though, of their typical services provided, we are asking them to try to cost out rough numbers what a continued defense for the MBTA communities piece would look like. We don't have a figure for that just yet. We did have an appropriation, as you may recall.
Last year's town meeting.
Last year's town meeting, that we are burning through an appropriate rate about what we thought it would be. So we'll, I think maybe when we get the new figure for Mead, Tellerman, and Costa for MBTA communities, maybe do a little review of money spent to date, just to, I think, give everybody a good idea of some of the financial moving parts relative to that ongoing case. Jackie, is there anything specific to our budget that you'd like to call out?
Yes, I would love to. Central office supplies is being consolidated, as is our postage. We did keep a few items. I'm sorry, I can't even read how the size of this. One area that does fluctuate every year is contractual services. So there was a few years ago, you'll see early on in the actuals, we didn't spend a lot, but that is a line where it's about $9,500 per year. And when I need to conduct an HR investigation that I don't have the bandwidth to do in-house, or some other small engineering item that Justin's working on needs to come up, that is where we do fund those items out of, but they're usually always in the $3,000 to $4,000 range max.
Is that where in the past we've also funded when we've brought in a consultant to help with the hiring of a new town administrator or?
Great examples, Brian, of other times that we've utilized that funding. So it's
Don't
just,
leave, because we're not spending money on that.
yeah,
Tend to hang around.
very much so. So I would say that's kind of the line in our budget that looks the most influx. The other item is training and education, which we did keep status quo. So that not only covers Justin and myself, but it also enables us to send some of our department heads, deputy department heads, and staff to trainings. So we've previously funded when folks have done, for example, the Suffolk MMA program. Last year, we got to send one of our deputy department heads to the Supervisory Leadership Training and Development Program, which is a program for folks managing union environments that one of our deputy department heads got to take advantage of.
Good.
So that's us, but we also spread that wealth when departments don't have that capacity. But otherwise, pretty much status quo, and I do know Justin and I have talked about this extensively, and you may have said it when I was out of the room, but we do thank the board for your support when it comes to being able to attend conferences and do professional development.
Second.
So it may not be for this, but it may be part of a capital need. I think we talked about this before in terms of our licensing process every year. Is there You use Citizen Serve or you don't use Citizen?
We don't use Citizen Serve. They don't have a portal for all of the types of licenses that we use. We use.
Got to be a company that has,
I did look at MMA because of the comments you had made at one of the January meetings. And I've talked with other folks in my position. There's not one software that does all of the odd licenses that this body covers, because there's the liquor and the common vic piece, but then there's also the auctioneers and the car dealerships. So we use a portal within Civic Plus, but nothing I looked at for liquor licensing checks all of the ABCC's processes boxes, and that's where there's a disconnect. So if somebody out there in the software development world would like to make a municipal software for liquor licensing that follows the ABCC regulations, that would be really welcome. But I will tell you, I talked with a number of other ATAs, and no one's having a good time with software. Everybody's kind of pigeonholing what they have into something. Most folks are using an Excel or an Access database, which is what we do.
okay.
It'd be nice if the Commonwealth put their resources to use and made one for the municipalities to use.
But actually, it would support the ABCC in the process as well. It would
Streamline
actually
it.
clear out the
I would
process. for them.
offer, we do have a portal that they have issued to us that we use to submit items to the ABCC, and it is one of the most painful softwares I've ever used in my career. So if it's that one, I don't want it.
The central office supply, so where in the budget, so everybody's taking it out of their budget, so where does it, where in
It's
the
gonna go in
budget?
that line, the central office line.
So the central office supplies now is in this budget. That's
Oh.
coming from everybody else's budget is now being consolidated.
Centralized.
Again, that's the cabinet that Jackie has, and she doles out the Post-it notes and
So-
pens.
A good example right now, Jeff, is what currently in that central office supply line. Our office buys all of the paper for both Memorial Hall and 195, so we're just gonna expand that operation further in the new building.
So it's not really going up that much considering,
I will say Sarah hasn't done the final tweak. We're still in the early stages. So it's going up, but it might not be reflected in this particular printout, because this is not what you'll see on Budget Saturday. This is an earlier edition.
Yep.
It's all right. That's the only hard thing about trying to pick a snapshot for you when we're kind of constantly
No, I get that, I get
working.
that.
Anything else on this before I jump into some of the other miscellaneous departments?
No, go ahead.
Wonderful.
We also covered legal while you're out.
Oh, fabulous, even better. 1 second, please. Town buildings is the other area that Peter has started to work on, and he will get into a lot of operations and maintenance. But this is the other area that our office currently oversees that will be getting consolidated dramatically. So you may recall town buildings is where all of our utility payments are coming out of, any building maintenance. And this department is in major flux right now as we take in Peter's suggestions, but also manage what we're paying out to the legacy buildings. And Peter will get further into that on
And
Saturday.
included in that will be, so is the cost of heating, which is electric, at our new facility going to be in this budget?
Yes.
It will be. So are we going to have broken out cost of maintaining in the mothballed status of the existing buildings, and then a separate line item for the new campus, or is it going to be a total line item for, heating and cooling, period?
So the way that Sarah and I have talked about it, and would welcome any input folks have, is that we would have one line that's heating 99 South Main Street, which is public safety, and a separate line that's heating 105 South Main Street, electric.
Electric.
Electric being, or water. And then for like recurring costs like utilities to keep the legacy buildings going, those may stay in the operating budget. We may ask you for a capital article instead, knowing that some of them are going to eventually drop off our rolls. So that's something that we're still in flux on at this point in the budget process. But the goal is to have sub-accounts for each of the 2 new buildings for those different utility and other purposes, so that every year when Peter's doing his review, he can really accurately track, that town hall's gone up or gone down, something's funny there. And so that's the goal, is to have it broken out to that degree, the way we've historically had all of the different buildings broken out into sub-accounts. So it's still an electric line, but we know what each building is going through.
And any of the buildings that we're moving out of, I think all of the costs to maintain them until disposition should be capital, not operational.
I agree.
Okay, we
I agree
can
with
do
that.
that easily.
Thank you for
I have
that.
a question. If, and I know people have different opinions on this. The buildings that are rentable, which could be the current senior center or police station, if we were to rent those out, would that rent could be used to offset operating budget in the town? How would that, where would those dollars go? How would that work if we decided to rent out the police station or the old town hall / senior center?
Well, the dollars of that would have to go into general revenue and then would be swept up in our overall revenue, and then we as a town could determine if we want to dedicate annually at an annual or a special town meeting, those revenues towards the capital needs of the new building, the
But what about, so Justin mentioned at the start of the meeting, operationally, we have a big deficit, we don't know how we're gonna fill the hole. Would renting out some of those buildings, could that rental income be used to offset that? That's my question.
So yes and no, but not in any amount of money that would make sense. And I get what you're getting at, right? Like, let's shake the tree and hit any revenue source we can. But I think if you're using the police station for an example, whatever you take in for rental fees, you're right off the top, you're gonna take out of that revenue what you're losing and having it on the tax rolls.
tax rules.
So it's,
Well, I'm saying permanently, but until something happens with
Well, yeah,
them, rather than
rather
pay to
than
heat
sitting.
them,
Yeah.
let somebody else pay to heat
to
them.
offset the cost of heating or something like
Yeah.
that. No, it definitely
Well,
makes
more
sense.
than that, it would be more than that.
I think the only challenge with a few of our buildings is that some of our buildings are not compliant with ADA or other pieces, or we have existing issues that is part of the reason why we're moving. So I like your idea, Jeff. I just don't know how attractive our buildings are
I
right
wouldn't
now
say
either.
town hall because of all the structural issues, and you
Yeah.
couldn't do it with that, but I think maybe the current senior center or the police station, I think it could be considered.
I wouldn't close the door on it entirely.
Yeah.
We'll look into it.
Especially,
When do we think we will have, to Costa's point, if we're gonna move the cost to mothball, keep heated electricity and water over there at Memorial Hall, Old Town Hall, Fire Station and Police Station, when do we think we will have an anticipated cost, whether it's gonna, and I think it should be capital in your point, when do we think we will be at a number for that?
I think we'll have to have it for Monday when capital requests are due. I think
Yeah.
Chantel already started working on some
Just
of
looking at
that
the
for me
history.
before her leave,
Yeah.
so.
The data's there, it's just a matter of maybe pulling a trend over the past 3 years, seeing what the average is, and maybe putting a little escalator on it, but, I think for the capital weekend, we can probably break that down pretty succinctly in a spreadsheet to show, like, this building, this is the cost, this building, this is the cost, this building, this is the cost, total package,
Yeah.
this.
And I would offer that the facilities budget will still be going up even if we make that shift to capital on those existing buildings, just because the operation and maintenance of our new buildings is slightly more expensive than the current buildings that we're in.
Well, they're slightly bigger.
Just a touch. And I think one of the things that we're very considerate of in conversations that Justin and I are having with Peter and with Sarah and with our entire team is that we really need to respect the wonderful investment that the residents have made and maintain and keep these buildings in as good as condition as possible. Because this is not something that's gonna happen again. We have to keep them as nice as possible for as long
Look at the
as possible.
Masco experience. A lot of money was put into that facility and a lot of years of not maintaining.
That was all I had on miscellaneous for tonight, unless there's any other questions.
Mr. Chair, if I could ask if we could go out of order.
Yeah, sure.
And take number 8,
Eight.
annual licensing follow-up.
Okay. So we are going to move to number 8, which is the annual licensing follow-up and any outstanding license. So I don't know if I'll turn this to you or Jackie?
Jackie, please.
Okay.
So we do have another license available for you
to approve tonight. We've received all the necessary materials from Omega Pizza, who is here tonight in front of you, and this is the last of our liquor licenses for for calendar year 2026.
So there's nothing else outstanding?
Nothing else outstanding for the business.
Okay. So you're officially the last across the finish line? You're officially the last across the finish line.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So, why is it, do you feel it's something that with the town's process, or, like, why, I guess is the question?
Well, two different. Jackie, it was you that you called me. I just wanted to clear something with you personally. Did you call me about a month ago or something?
I did.
Okay, in a personal note, I apologize if I wasn't really polite and very pleasant.
Thank you.
This is, I wanted to get that out of my chest.
I appreciate it.
A restaurant owner, 12 o'clock sometimes doesn't think far, and of course you were doing your job. On a business note, the portal that actually we go and put the papers allows us to put all the documents, I think are 6 forms, but then doesn't say what's missing. Yes, it does say, though, the email, what we need to put every year. So this thing, it's funny that at least I got to know today what's going on with the town, and I'm glad I came. However, I did put the application in November 17th, along with payment. And there are about 6 documents that you have to download. One of them is the tip certificate that every 2-3 years we renew.
PIP certification, yeah.
Yeah, the tip certification. So at that point, in November, actually was active, was good, because if I'm not wrong, was in December 5th that was expiring. Wasn't that really I was not doing it, somehow at that moment, I thought it will go through and will give me time to make an appointment and to make a new one. So in January, I think it was, Jackie called me and asked me that I have to send a certificate, but you need this, I mean the license, but you need the tip certificate. So I said, as soon as I receive it, I will send it. But I guess I wasn't polite enough, and I admit that part. But I hadn't received it. Though, since the documents are there, I had done it since December 15th. So I was not waiting for January, just keep pushing it. I had done it, I just didn't have it physically, the
So
certificate.
the certification organization hadn't provided it to you?
Yes. On January 14th, I respond to an email from John Dimino, which was
JJ.
was an intern, I think, for the septic here. So, and I just sent it as you send an email. But then I found out yesterday, when a gentleman brought me a paper, that actually John had all the emails returned saying that I don't work anymore for the town. So in my mind, I had said everything. However, that email never went through because, again, it was a business email. Another thing is when I receive emails, and I think I speak for a lot of co-restaurant owners, every email comes as a personal email. Not personal, but with a name. And sometimes does end up in trash. Basically, it doesn't say town, Middleton Town, or town administrator or something. And so many names changing and changing, at one point ends up there and you just don't pay attention to it. So bottom line is, I did in December the tip certificate, and my business license and my insurance was renewed since September. So it wasn't that, okay, let me push it. It was more of not having it in hand.
Okay.
So I think that was the longest answer.
So I think some of the things that this board's looking at going forward next year, so we made some changes going into this year's of timing. And I think and this isn't just your case, because you're not the only one that was late on some of these items. I think we need to move the timeline a little bit earlier, so when cases like this occur, it's not a scramble at the end of the year. Because I'll give you an example. We had other licensees that it was literally New Year's Eve, town hall was closing, everybody was getting ready to watch the ball drop, and we were still chasing down paperwork for folks. And we could have just made a decision of, we're closed, we'll see you next year. And I give Jackie and JJ credit at the time, before he had left for West Virginia, of trying to track those down. One of the things that I think actually may help is the creation of a single email address for all correspondence
We've already
with licensees.
done that.
Look at that, okay.
We already have that. It's what we used this year because we knew the JJ Chantel transition would be difficult. So that's something that we do. And we check with people every time we make contact if their email address is still the one that we should be reaching out to. That's
So-
why we send every business a personal email at the beginning of the season.
I also think, and this will take more work on our behalf, but I think we should also submit as part of the application next year some tips and recommendations, such as if your tip certification is getting ready to expire, but you've submitted one as part of your application, but it's going to expire before your application is due, you should get your tip certified. If you have submitted documentation, please confirm that your documentation is up to date. So we could probably put some tips and
Can I ask a
Q and
question
As.
on that?
Yeah.
So what happens if, like, you need a liability insurance certificate. So what happens if somebody's liability insurance expires on December 20th, and they submit everything to you November 20th, and it's a
And then we
valid
ask
with
for-
a month less
It's-
left in it? What
Yeah, it's a
happens?
great question, Jeff. We never accept ones that are expiring in calendar year that we're in. They have to have a policy that reaches into the year that we're licensing.
So how would they know that, and how is
Because
that?
we personally call and email and
And say,
let
hey,
them
this
know.
certificate expires
And I know
before January
JJ
1st.
did quite a lot of emailing with
Okay.
a number of our businesses, and I know he was emailing you prior to me calling you personally at the beginning of January.
This is exactly, I'm sorry, this is exactly what Mr. Cresta is saying. He was saying that how about the emails that we receive come, one email, come, let's say, from the town administrator or from Middleton Town somehow, and not just a name. I have been receiving from John, from Brenda, from Chantel, from. Point is to be from one, because now so many names.
I get that, but they're not using their personal email accounts.
No, I didn't say
It's
it's
gonna have-
meaning as a name.
Clearly,
It
the
may end up
sender
in
has a
junk.
name.
May
and
end
then
up in
afterward
junk.
It says Middleton,
But we
Mass.
do have,
No.
we have several
Sorry.
individuals that are involved in the process. So we have, Chantel that usually is managing the process. This time she was out. JJ was filling in. We have folks over at Inspectional Services that are quarterbacking and communicating around all of the inspections that have to happen. And I assume somebody at the fire department, or does that get handled over at Inspectional Services?
Thankfully, Lisa handles it
Handles
for
both.
fire and building. She will do that through Citizen Serve for both departments.
Got it. Okay. So,
But the hard part is, to your point, there is not one person who deals with all of you, because just because someone is dealing with us for liquor and common vic doesn't actually necessarily mean that they're dealing with building and fire. If they're not a gathering place, then they don't have to get fired. Like, not everybody has to do everything, which is why every department does that individual reach out. And it's why a few years ago, we started personally writing an email to every single business of, this is your business, this is what's due, this is when it's due. Everyone gets a personalized checklist of what's due. To your point, Brian, the exact tips that you're talking about are on the materials that we put out. Unfortunately, folks are busy, they're not seeing them enough. I am happy to get a software and to figure out another portal, but I also, there has to be some reliance on the business if they want to maintain their licenses to return what we need and to be
There's an accountability element.
responsive.
so I think in next year's process, and I said after we get through the budget process, I think we just have to look at timing, because what I don't want is you, Chantel, Lisa, and the inspectors jumping through hoops at the last minute.
Sure.
Literally when the bell is already rung. And then this board is going to take a position like we did last time, which is the bell is rung, we're stopped. And nobody wants to do that in this board, but I also think that we just have to make sure that timing is such that you guys are not under the gun for this, and then it's not at some point when you are not provided the material, and that bell is rung, here's the timeline.
And businesses, renew these licenses annually. So you should have some knowledge of what needs to be submitted and when it needs to be submitted. If it's the first time renewing, say, a liquor license, maybe, that business doesn't know the process. But businesses, have to have some accountability in this process, because you need your whatever certifications you need to apply, wherever insurance you need to provide, you need, know that you need to make your payment. And from experience, year on, year out, and I've done license renewals for businesses. I just made a copy of everything that was submitted one year and then just worked off of that, and updated the information, knew the time frames, and the city that I was renewing the license from, didn't really need to tell me anything.
So here's a question to Jeff's point. So let's say somebody submits their application and their tip certification is expiring in March of the next year. How are we communicating to make sure that they're continued to be tip certified come March?
So if their tips are expiring or their liability insurance?
Well, I mean, we require them to be tip certified.
Yep.
And so we've renewed a license for January through December of '26, but we know their tip certification expires in March. Are we, in March, confirming that we've gotten a new tip certification?
No, we're not tracking. We're hoping that the business is taking the appropriate accountability, but we use the annual licensing process to catch them.
What do we do for liability insurance?
The liability insurance provider will mail us
Okay.
an updated policy, because we're typically named as like a CC.
You're named in it, yeah, okay.
We're not additional insured, but we're named as a CC, and so we get the liability policy renewals throughout the year. We keep those on file, but that's partially why we do the annual licensing process through the ABCC. The ABCC does not require us to go and chase people if their tips expires in March or August or whenever. They ask us to do the 1-year check-in.
Got it.
And again, like, if there was less I could do to be, if there was less paperwork for you to submit, I would do less paperwork. We are doing the bare minimum of what the ABCC
That they require
requires.
us to do, yeah.
If there was a piece of paper I could remove from this process, I'm so truthful when I tell you.
Yeah, because we
I would
can't
get rid
issue a
of it.
license without a tip certification.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion before us?
So I'll move to approve the liquor license. Is that the only outstanding, or any other license?
For Omega Pizza, we have a common victualler, and an entertainment license.
So I'll move to renew all of those 3 licenses.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, if any? Okay. Thank you.
Jimmy, I want to ask you about the portal. The portal though shows that
Let's go chat, because they're gonna keep going.
Okay, we're going to move to number 4 on the agenda, which is reviewing the draft May 12, 2026 annual town meeting warrant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will note for the sake of time, we have a 6:30 appointment with legal. So we should be able to move.
Yeah, we'll
pretty
power
quick.
through them.
So the only change from your last meeting, we officially bumped off Lightner Way there for a street acceptance.
Yes.
And we added the one citizens petition
that we received.
Time. Thank you for Mr. Trevor Carrier for providing that draft. We have forwarded it on to legal counsel, and legal counsel has confirmed that as written, this stands. So we're going to go ahead and take this language and put it right through.
So those are the only two changes. Lightner Way we knew was going to be coming off anyway because the timeline had passed. And the citizens petition timeline has also expired, so are we actually closing the warrant?
Yeah, next meeting, right?
Yeah, we're too early.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, so we look like today we are standing at 24 items.
Correct.
Okay. Any further questions on that? Okay. Number 5, public comment. There is not a soul in the room, so I'd expect that we do not have any public comment. Okay, number 6 is the field use fee structure review.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Jackie has put the work in on this. I'd echo since she was out of the room that we have an appointment with Jay in 6 minutes, but don't rush.
I can be quite brief on this. So as the board members know, we have a number of fields in town that get used for various organizations and our school partners as well. They cost quite a lot of money to maintain. I'm sorry, I'm just looking for this in the packet. So as many, thank you. As many of you know, for many years we haven't been charging fees for the usage of our fields, but as the costs continue to grow for the maintenance of the fields, I do want to acknowledge the very generous in-kind donations we've had from some of our youth sports programs when we've needed one-time improvements to the fields. But the goal of the field use fees would be to replenish the general fund for some of the dollars that are being spent by DPW to keep our fields well maintained. I want to offer that from Superintendent Goodwin all the way down to DPW summer help, our DPW members take an incredible amount of pride in the work that they do to keep our fields beautiful and playable, and that's not something every city in town talks about. We have a colleague in one of our neighboring communities who actually had said to me, and maybe Justin as well was there, that like our fields are just so nice and they're often jealous of our fields and their
Makes them look
quality.
bad.
It makes, yep, that's what they said.
So I will say, I give a lot of credit to some changes that happened for, this is before you were here, Justin, but there was a period of time when sometimes our fields were not as well maintained. And I give Paul a lot of credit, and Kenny when he was here, to really changing the process. We invested some additional dollars, but really they stepped it up. There was a lot of field users, including youth in adult sports, that were struggling with softball and baseball games that couldn't be done because the grass was too long to even play the game. So, and I do agree, our fields are really, really well maintained, and I give the DPW, I mean, they keep our streets clear in the winter and they keep our fields well maintained in the spring, summer, and fall.
So the recommendation, and this is not something we need to decide tonight, but we'd like to get the ball rolling as we work through the budget process. My recommendation would be to follow a structure similar to what the town of Topsfield does, where they have one $20 an hour fee for residents for one-time events, $30 an hour for non-residents for one-time events, and then for each athletic league, a $25 admin fee, and then $10 per player for their season. And when speaking with Paul, I do want to thank Ashley Garber at the DPW for doing all the research about what other cities and towns are doing. And I spoke with Paul and I said, do you have a recommendation? And he said, please, let's just keep it as simple administration, because this, he does a really good job not only keeping the fields looking beautiful, but doing the puzzle, which is all the bookings of all the different groups and making sure everybody's got equal playing time. So he's not looking for, the goal is not to create a lot of permitting process with this. It's just to simply recoup some of our field expenses.
Is this just for, like, if somebody was, and I don't know, like an Earth Day festival or something like that, are they exempt from the, is it just for people actually playing a ball game or anybody using?
It's any field use, because we do have private groups that will use our fields, like private sports.
But they play a game. I'm talking about.
We're talking about everything, because
If they set foot on the field, so how would Earth Day work? Would they have to pay?
Yeah.
that could be at the discretion of this board if there was if you wanted to exclude nonprofits,
I think we should, yeah.
I'd almost rather see you get rid of the resident and then pass on the split $10 and put another 5 on non-resident, another 5 on leagues.
And I'd also.
Or, you know, if it's that easy to just make an exemption list, but, you know, I don't know, I don't feel right charging the residents.
Other communities, you can apply for the board to waive it. It goes on a select board agenda and you can vote to waive the fee. It also gives them good visibility.
So I don't disagree with implementing this policy is, I mean, the cost of maintaining our fields isn't going down, it's only going up. And I think across the board, those that use our fields and our parks all agree they're well-maintained. So it's not like we're asking them to be a part of not just the maintenance, but this is also capital improvements. I mean, this isn't just mowing. There's a lot more that happens there. And we've invested in our fields. I think of the shade facilities that we've put up at several of our locations, and items like that. The investments we're getting ready to do down at the transfer station to make those fields even better for safety, walkability, sidewalks, parking, the list goes on. That takes dollars that are being borne by the taxpayers. The one thing I'd say is for these organizations that are regularly using our fields, I want to make sure they have enough line of sight to this so they can budget accordingly within whatever fees they charge to
Yep.
the
their
users of their
participants.
programs.
Yep. And that's why we're coming to now, as unseasonably as it feels.
When would you expect, if this was implemented, it would start?
We would like to have it take effect for March 1, so that any of the bookings coming in for the spring and summer seasons can, and so Paul's gonna, he may have even started having conversations with some of the league directors that he works with, but the goal is to have an effective date of March 1 for this year, so that we give folks line of sight before booking season.
I agree with Rick on the Middleton residency, that I mean, everybody wants to get kids out and playing it out behind the phones and the computers and out playing on fields. The last thing we want to do is discourage that. So I don't know if I'm comfortable charging Middleton events for the fields.
So
Are you saying for like youth programs and Middleton-based programs, or are you saying if a Middleton resident wanted to reserve the field for an event?
I think it was, if a Middleton resident was reserving the field for an event that was open to all Middleton residents, not a limited group, I wouldn't want to see him charge. If it was a limited group, I understand. But I think we have to put more time into this to make sure of unintended consequences, and we're not charging people we really don't want to charge.
If it's like a private league, right, it's a Middleton resident that runs a private league.
If it's an adult
That's an
softball
athletic-
league.
To me, that's an
Right.
athletic league,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The way this is written. If it's
But if it's a townwide
Sandy
event,
Rumchinock trying to
yeah.
give us, and then I don't want to task her to have to ask us.
Right.
To, you know,
So I
they're
think
paying
it's
tax.
We'll
very
draft something
simple
up
to
and-
say that a resident one-time event wouldn't have no charge, a non-resident one-time event would have a charge, and then the sports groups have the $25 admin and the $10 per player. Were you looking to not do anything for that either, Jeff? That's the part I'm hung
I think
up
the ones that are
on.
majority Middleton residents shouldn't have a charge. Like it has, I see in this list that it's less than 50%. I don't know how you, with the different
So-
tiers.
Yeah, that's confusing,
We
but
didn't do the different tiers for that very reason, because it's really hard, and they may not have a full roster of kids when they're trying to book fields, so that's why we tried to keep it simple of, regardless of if it's, you know, a Middleton athletic group, a private athletic group, what have you, the athletic groups paid the same thing across the board, and then the resident, non-resident, because once you start getting into the percentage of participants, that's what felt.
So you say like the Middleton Youth Soccer, this proposal would be they would pay a fee to use the
They would
field,
pay-
and they're paying nothing now?
They're paying nothing now. They do occasionally provide different youth
I was going
sports
to say,
provide
some
in-kind,
sports have provided in-kind.
in-kind donations, but it's
In-kind
not been consistent. And I think for us, from an equity perspective, we would rather have the ability to apply the same structure of fee to everybody than have some groups providing in-kind donations and some groups not. Because all of those groups use the resource.
Yeah, I'm just not, I don't know if
So
I'm
I will say,
comfortable
Jeff,
charging groups like that.
I would say
a fee.
historically, if you look around us, the vast majority, if not all of the cities and towns around us are doing this.
So apparently it's more dynamics involved than what we're looking at. I mean, so an athletic league could be the same thing as Middleton Youth Soccer and Little League, and they're already getting it for free now? I'm not even looking for an answer. I'm saying, why can't, they're a league. Why can't, why can't they pay the $30 admin and $10 a player, but we eliminate resident one time?
For the sake of time, I think what I'm gonna recommend is if we can rework a draft and distribute it in advance to this board, if you can review it, provide your notes to Jackie, and we'll bring a final version back on February 17th.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this needs to go live in March. I understand you'd like to get the spring done. This may be something that we look at within all of the next fiscal year, because, and I do appreciate the leagues in town that actually do provide a donation to the town. I don't want to eliminate that. I mean, for the leagues that have built that into their program, I appreciate they've done it. And a lot of that was, they were really trying to get us to better maintain our fields, and we have done so. And they gladly did so, and I appreciate them for doing that. To your point, Jackie, I agree with the equity piece, but I think, I don't even know what, if we implemented this, how much we're talking about. I mean, are we?
Yeah, we can pull that number for you too.
And where does the money go? Is it an
The gen-
offset on the DPW budget, or how does it
It's,
go?
so it goes into the general fund, which the general fund then would fund the DPW budget, so, but that, we would also be proposing, one of the items is amending our revolving
I
funds.
was gonna say, what about a revolve?
So that's one of the items on your town meeting warrant list, is to, we got rid of the field use revolving fund because we weren't charging any fees, but,
We were at one time, years ago.
and we
Yes.
can't figure out when we stopped or why. So if anyone has that history, please see me, I'd love to figure that out, but, the cost.
I think it was because we had such a shortage of fees that it became who could pay and who couldn't, is what I expect probably happened. And-
Okay.
And our fields are, our field capacity is better than it was years ago.
Yeah. So I'll follow up ahead of your next meeting and we can get that together for then.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Next is the Patriotic Observances Committee. I believe we have a single vacancy here. There were two candidates for appointment, Herman Lehrman Creaky and Liz Cameron, and I was looking at the correspondence back and forth where I think one of the candidates stated that he was okay if the other candidate got the appointment because she wants to serve.
Yeah, they've both been wonderful attendees of the Patriotic Observances, both plan to continue to serve and support, but they, between them, Herman graciously wanted to give Liz the opportunity because he serves on some other boards and committees.
Well,
And that's why he had shown up a little bit
I saw him earlier, that's why I was
Yeah,
wondering.
he was here to,
So
he
thank
was
you,
here to
Herman, for
withdraw.
being magnanimous, and thank you, Liz, for being willing to serve. And this would be for this is a one-year appointment or a three-year appointment?
I apologize, one second.
We should be asking our keeper of the dates. Got you on a bad night? Yeah.
I know, Costa, I was relying on you, and I'm sorry for that. I shouldn't have.
There wasn't.
Oh, there wasn't a paperwork, no.
Oh, it just listed who's currently there.
If I may, there's two folks that are going through, it's a seat through 27.
Okay,
Because it's
so,
replacing
so
Ms.
this
Kemp.
would be an appointment to the Patriotic Observance Committee for a term through June 30th, 2027. I would accept a motion of Liz Cameron.
So moved.
There's a motion, is there a second? There is a second, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, if any? Thank you, Liz, and thank you, Herman. Okay, a quick follow-up on our previous discussion of the Elmira Richardson Scholarship Fund.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on your last meeting, it seemed like the consensus among the board was a desire for those remaining funds in some way, shape, or form to make their way into the hands of a deserving student or students. Excuse me, so I took that feedback back to legal counsel, had them review some of the language, and they pointed out specifically that, quote, the trustees are granted the power, trustees being the board, to terminate the trust in part or in whole and distribute all of the trust assets for any one or more of the following reasons to be determined by the trustees in their sole discretion, and distribute in accordance with Article 3, with A being because it is no longer economical to administer the trust asset, and the donor shall not have the authority to terminate the trust, donor being the person that started the trust. So In so many words, you can take that roughly $5,200, vote to have it distributed in the next cycle, either in whole or in parts, to multiple students for the next cycle, and then have the account closed out thereafter.
So that could be done through the scholarship committee that we have in place.
Correct, although it's my understanding by a few weeks, we're too late to pass that on to them, so they're going to have to do it for 2027.
Could we go, there's 5,000, could we go 5 years, 1,000 a year for 5 years?
We're looking to close it out, I think it's part of
Well, I mean, I think that might be more in keeping with the original donor's intent.
Is it too late for the scholarship committee to reconvene? Because I assume there were, maybe I'm wrong, I assume more people have asked than there were dollars to distribute.
You
So
can
this-
reach out and ask if they're willing to, I mean, I don't know what it takes for them to hold a meeting, but.
But, you know, the scholarship committee works through Masco.
So it's my understanding the issue is they have already sent their communication to students saying if you're interested in applying for X, Y, or Z grant, please apply. And so this didn't make it onto that
So
communication.
why wouldn't this have been on there any, well, it would be
Because
less than.
there wasn't
less-
enough, there wasn't enough money
So
in
then-
revenue.
What my suggestion would be for, not for the 26, for 27, give 2,600 through Masco, 2,600 through Essex Tech to a Middleton resident graduating from one of those two schools.
What was the original, what did the original say? Did it mention those two schools, or did it just, what did it
No,
say?
for a deserving student, and to answer your previous question, Jeff, it was because you had to hold 5,000. You couldn't spend any more than that, and so the reason they weren't doling it out is because it was just, I think, just under $200. So if that's the path, I would recommend that, and then in addition, any remainder to just return to our general fund.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I still suggest that it goes, that it continues for 5 more years and 1,000 a year to any deserving student in Middleton, regardless of, you know, if the Essex Tech is the winning applicant, so be it. If the Masco
Well,
student is the
well,
winning,
Yeah, but who decides?
the scholarship committee that we have.
Yes, but the scholarship committee
Bless you.
works through Masco. The people we have on the scholarship committee go to Masco with the representatives of Topsfield and Boxford, and the Masco administration has, you know, a list of, you know, scholarships, and they make, you know, recommendations to, so if a scholarship is for a Middleton student, only Middleton students are considered, if it can be any tri-town.
Right.
And they make recommendations, and then the gathered scholarship committees debate that and, you know, either approve it or do something different, so.
So when this was
That's the process.
contemplated, it was probably so this scholarship has historically been granted through Masco, right?
No, this says by trustee
But-
approval, whoever that was, and its beneficiaries are
I don't think.
Middleton residents furthering
dollars have been
education
given
in
recently.
nursing or medical field or an allied occupation. So it eliminates a lot of students.
It's
If
been,
you want to go by the
Well, I think it should go by the original intent.
will of it, right? So you're
So what did it say, Rick?
beneficiaries of this trust shall be deserving students who are residents of Middleton, furthering their education in the nursing or medical field or an allied occupation. I know it's a bit
Allied health.
ambiguous, but, and shall be selected at the sole discretion of the trustees, which,
Is this board.
that's not Masco.
So I don't know, who are we to change that criteria?
I'm assuming there hasn't been a scholarship given from this scholarship in many years.
it's been depleted, so.
Yeah, sure, it's.
I mean, in the past 20 years, it hasn't been acted on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's been sitting for 20 years.
You're saying nobody's received any money from the scholarship for 20 years?
No,
Because there hasn't been enough interest
hasn't
to
been
yield
enough
a
interest to
scholarship.
actually give a scholarship.
And so the original intent why this is coming forward is to get the hand out of an account, or get the money out of the account into the hands of a student, and also to get it off our books, because it's just
Because the
cumbersome.
way it was created is 5,000 had to remain, but the interest on the 5,000 was not generating enough money to actually,
This was set up in 91 with $5,000. The interest on $5,000,
$250, $200.
even
Right,
less.
certain
than-
years, right.
Right, so it may never have been awarded. Because it wasn't,
On our end, we just want to take one less
Is
thing.
this the only similar situation we have?
For this, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
once in a while, something pops up that we're just not aware of, sitting in an account somewhere. We just had one with the library a year or so ago.
So you're saying it costs a $2,500 scholarships?
Yeah.
do 2,600.
600.
Right. If it's, and, you know,
And we can give it to whoever we want. We can't determine internally.
Actually, I would recommend the scholarship be split whatever the amount is that's in that account, 50% to a Masco student, 50% to a Essex Tech student, because next year it may grow by $30. I don't know.
And no deference to the medical field?
I would keep the intent, which was to nursing, medical,
Right.
or allied health.
That I would want to see happen.
And this will
yes.
be a one-time,
I'm okay with it if it's kept to
Yeah.
that intent.
Okay, so split in equal parts, so long as it's going to the medical, a student in the medical
and
field.
a Middleton resident,
And
obviously.
a Middleton
And a Middleton
resident, half to Masco, half to Essex Tech.
Essex Tech
With
student.
any remainder, be it a penny or whatnot, to go into the general fund.
Exactly.
And then for it to be closed out by our town
Yep.
finance director.
Got it.
Okay.
So, did I hear that motion?
Yeah, so moved, sir.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that passes unanimously. Okay, one more item before we go into executive session. We have a one-day liquor license request from Party Accommodator on behalf of the Middleton Board of Trade, which would be on February 12th. And this event will be held at Salem Metal, located at 177 North Main Street, Building 200, Unit 201. And assuming, Jackie, that all the required information is in hand.
Yes, Mr.
Move
Chair.
to approve.
There is a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed if any?
Brian, can I just revisit on the last item before this, the scholarship? So this is not going to be for the upcoming, is it going to be for the upcoming college year, or are
It
we,
would be for the next, because the Masco process is already unfolded.
and who is going to be the decision maker? Is it going to be this board, or is it going to be who's going to be the decision maker or the recipient? and
Whoever the
when is it-
scholarship committee is.
So it'll be the scholar, is
Yeah,
it,
we have a scholarship committee in town that has representatives that are appointed, and they work right now with Masconomet as a member of the scholarship,
and who would do the one for Essex Tech?
same scholarship committee.
They do both,
Yeah.
okay.
And I'll try to see if we can get it in this
So
year.
if
just
it
to get
could
over with.
come in this next year, it would, and if it can't, it'll wait a year?
Yeah.
Correct.
Is that
Yeah.
what we're all in agreement on?
Yeah,
I'm all right with it.
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to be entering executive session for two items, and we will be returning to open session for a potential contract approval. So the first item is executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, and this is regarding relative to MBTA Communities Act, which we spoke about earlier in this meeting. The second executive session is pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect of collective bargaining negotiations. And this is for all collective bargaining units that we are in current negotiations with. Again, I expect that we will be returning to open session for a potential contract approval. So is there a motion?
So moved for both reasons.
Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, who wants to be the acting clerk, as our clerk is absent?
Jeff.
Jeff,
Okay,
can
go
you
ahead.
take the roll?
Rick,
Yes.
Costa,
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Okay, we stand in executive session and will return. Okay, we're going to return to open session of the Middleton Select Board meeting. And last on the agenda is motions that I will be accepting for the approval of bargaining unit contracts. We have before us this evening the approval of the administrative AFSCME Administrative Union contract, and we also have the approval of the AFSCME Library Staff contract.
So I'll move to approve the administrative assistant contract.
Okay, there is a motion. Is there a second?
Oh, second, sorry.
Okay, there is a
Brian, I'm
motion. and a
going
second.
to abstain from this one.
Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. One abstention. Anybody say nay? Okay, that passes on a 3-0 vote. And then I would accept a motion on the library AFSCME union contract.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, if any? And that passes on a 4-0 vote. Okay, is there any updates or comments that board members have before we adjourn? If not, as a reminder, Saturday at 8:30 a.m. in this room, we will be holding our annual budget Saturday discussion where many of the departments will be presenting their fiscal year budgets. That'll be followed up in a month with the first Saturday in March with the follow-up budget meeting as well as the capital budget meeting. And in addition, our next select board meeting will be Tuesday, February 17th. If not, if there's nothing additional, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. We stand adjourned.